I'm just gonna hit the record button. Recording.
We're recording. We're good to
It's
go?
it's recording. I'm pretty sure it's recording.
Heck yeah.
All right,
How long have we been talking about doing this?
dude. This has been a hot minute. Like, I'm really
Oh,
surprised that we're actually finally doing it though.
over a year we've been talking about doing this, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people told us we should do it, so figured
Exactly.
might as well.
With the world shutting down, it kind of made us do
Well,
it.
make it forces the hand, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I want
uh, so go for it.
I just wanted to talk about that for a quick second and just say that for anyone that clicked on this video real quick, obviously, as many of you might know, Chris and myself, we both work for Bowlers Mart, and unfortunately, with everything going on in the world right now, we're both out of work. So for any of you that are interested, any of the products that him and I talk about in this video, any bowling balls, any apparel, anything like that can be found on Bowlers Mart and Coolwick. And I think Paleezy's the PC wizard here. He should be pulling up something just like that. To
This
just give
is
you guys
uh
just,
this is Queso's personal line of clothing right here.
oh heck yeah, get the queso post shirt, guys. But yeah, for anyone watching, that'd be really appreciative. I mean, get a chamois, get a pack of tape, get some cleaner, anything you guys can to keep Bowlers Mart going through these tough times. We would really appreciate it. But we're not going to spend too much time worrying about that because no hot button topics on this channel.
But yeah, so pretty much we're doing this because we want to just, we see what Brad and Kyle's doing. Honestly,
Yeah,
we bowl. Obviously we don't bowl on that level, but we bowl on the regional level,
yeah.
and there's plenty of content and stories that can come from the regional level as well.
We have a lot of stories and
A
content.
lot of stories,
Yeah.
a lot of knowledge, stuff like that. Working in
Mhm.
pro shops, we're really on every side of the business, so it
Yeah.
just makes sense to share, and we have plenty of time now. So
Yeah. Especially Orlando's on lockdown, right?
as of Thursday, we will be on lockdown for 2 weeks.
All right. So that means we're going to be pumping out a lot of videos for you guys.
Yeah, nice.
Um, so, I mean, we're both wearing Motive shirts. Do you want to just talk about that change that you decided to make at the beginning of the year and what you see? And
Yeah,
then I made
it
this change literally
was.
a week ago.
Yeah, it was pretty much. I was thinking about it for the last few months of the last of 2019, and I just wasn't liking the shapes I was seeing. Wasn't comfortable. Certain things just wasn't matching up for me, my eye. So I inquired, and I reached out, and it actually turned out to be something really good. Took me a couple months. I was in kind of like a slump for, let's say, what, January to February, having little wrist issues,
A
not throwing
lot
it
of
very good,
tendonitis,
like a lot
elbow,
of stuff like
everything.
that, elbow tendonitis, wrist tendonitis. So I took a little bit of time off, and then last couple weeks I actually started figuring it out, and then now I'm done for however long.
Seems to
So
be your luck.
yeah, that's
Uh,
how it works.
for those of you that don't know, Chris is a regional champion. You won what 2 years ago?
2 years ago, actually, it was
It
exactly
was
2 years ago, so 3 days ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, I mean, high rev rate guy likes to create a lot of shape when he can. And why don't
too
you?
much shape most of the time.
I was gonna say, why don't you talk about the differences you're seeing with Motive compared to what you were throwing? Just what you're seeing different, not saying what was good or bad about it. Just what the differences you're seeing.
They just hook less, but not in a bad way. Like, people associate hook potential to how good a bowling ball is sometimes, and I just don't think that's how it works. And
Not at all.
yeah, I really wish that we could like change that narrative, because so many people really feel like, oh, the ball just the most it hooks, and that's how good it is, and it just doesn't work that way most of the time, especially here in the South. I mean, they hook so much here, up front, down lane. They just hook everywhere. Every center we bowl, and they hook. So we have to try to manage friction more than we have to create hook. So especially down south, obviously tour it's completely different. Other
Yeah,
places going to be completely different, but in our environment, we don't have a shortage of hook. So I felt I don't throw it that hard. I throw it 17 and a half, 18, and I have 5'10", and it's a lot. So I always
yeah,
felt like I had too much. So these balls are just smoother. They're more predictable. Is for me in my hand, obviously, and I just appreciate the predictability of them.
fair enough. And you've been throwing them since January, right? Yeah.
A little before January, like December
Cool.
20th.
So what's I mean, what do you like? And I haven't got a chance to throw my stuff too much, so I don't have a whole lot of data to go off of just yet.
I mean, obviously, it's the Venom Shock is. I can't believe how good that ball is. That ball is just unbelievable. Um, Rogue Assassin really special. Really
Okay.
kind of the first ball of the bag every time. Alpha Jackal's great for a lot of oil. Don't throw it often.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
Supra sneaking up on me. I'm really liking the Supra. I think that
Ah,
one's
the up one or the down one.
both.
Okay.
Both, yeah. Both. And then layouts, man. Layouts change so much from the balls. I mean, that's a really big point. You haven't seen anything different yet with layouts, right? Because you're
Uh,
just getting into it.
I literally just getting into it. I'm feeling like I can drill more up stuff. So for me, again, for people that don't know, I don't have a whole lot of axis rotation. So my bowling ball
He's
doesn't hook.
left-handed. He's left-handed.
Okay, fine. I use this hand. There we go. So I've kind of tried to, get better playing, shallower angles and stuff like that. And when I would drill bowling balls pin up, they would just use all their energy at one time, and then they would just wouldn't continue. Where the motive balls, like I said, I've literally thrown them for 8 days. The little I've thrown them, they're rounder. So for me, they don't necessarily hook less, at least not right now. But like I said, I haven't thrown them in anything else than my home center. But they just seem rounder. So
And
they're
short hooks a little bit.
it does. But I mean, if it hooks, I would see early friction too, I think.
Yeah,
But all the bowling balls that I've thrown all seem rounder, so they're just a little bit more continuous off of it. But they don't change direction super quick.
correct.
Even the
Correct.
quick balls don't change direction super fast. The quick balls for me are just cleaner. They read the mid lane and then they're just rounder off of it, but they just don't hook as early as the slower balls. So I mean, for me, I feel like because Motive is one company, they don't have 4 or 5 different brands. The bowling balls are very stacked on top of each other as far as the gaps go because they only have one company to pull from. So I feel like whenever Motive comes out with a bowling ball, at least from what it looks like, is they're stacked on top of each other to where the player can fill his arsenal with these
And
bowling balls.
exactly, and that's how they do it with their marketing as well, because they have the chart, which I will even bring it up.
Oh, wizardry is about to happen, folks. I'm on my phone currently. He's got the super awesome gamer PC, so he's kind of taking the helm on this one.
So
There
this
we
is
go.
their chart. So they literally, when they discontinue or anything like that, they just fill in the gaps. So it makes it really easy for anywhere from casual bowlers to competitive bowlers to really understand where this ball's supposed to go. What does obviously everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah,
I
of
kind of
course.
have this ball. I kind of have this ball behind this ball. Some people are going to see it differently. I
Yeah, it's a
kind of
little
have
style
this ball.
specific.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like this Venom Shock for me is I use it on way more oil, stuff like that. But just in general.
Yeah, and that goes to, like I said, your rev rate. You can do it with layouts and surface. Where for me,
Exactly.
lower rev rate, shallower angles, I might need a little more friction to use that ball. It's when the bowling ball works for that person. Just because the bowling ball is made for heavy oil doesn't mean you need to use it for heavy oil. And that's what I think people need to get out of their mind. You know, how many times have you had a customer come in that doesn't hook the bowling ball a whole lot, and they think that the center has a lot of oil when it's kind of their style, and then they come in, they want a heavy oil bowling ball, and it's the worst thing for them because it uses all the energy way too early and they don't
Well,
see the motion they want.
this is one of the best conversations I think us as pro shop guys have all the time, and it's when a customer comes in, they ask for an aggressive bowling ball. What are they talking about? They're talking about some ball that's going to hook down lane.
Not 99% of the time.
99% of the time, they want the ball that hooks down lane. So they want to go for that big aggressive ball, and most of the time, those balls are kind of earlier, slower, rounder, diggier. They're really not meant to hook the whole lane with them.
Yeah, literally.
That's the thing. That's the thing. They're really not meant for that. So
Yeah.
that's always something I'm going to talk about. I want to that's a pet peeve of mine because it's true because people are either they're spending money they don't need to spend or they're doing it just because of marketing or they need to buy balls that are meant for their game. And
Yeah.
it always goes back to your pro shop guy has to get your PAP no matter what. Period. End of discussion.
So guys, PAP is positive axis point. It's basically just the poles of which your bowling ball rotates around. Everyone has their own specific positive axis point. Some people's measurements might be exactly the same. That does not mean that you throw it the same. That's also why you can go into a pro shop and ask your pro shop operator to lay your bowling ball out like your best friends, and it's going to roll completely different for you because you most likely have a different PAP or release or style or whatever than your friend. So every bowling ball needs to be made specific to you, as an individual. And if your pro shop operator isn't doing that for you, then you need to probably go check out a different pro shop operator, or just go to your local bowler's mart. We all do that for all of our customers. That that
It's
it needs
it's
to be
it's
done.
super important. It's super important. You can't just put the pin where you saw it on the computer and on ball video, where Tom Smallwood has his pin. That's just not. That's just never gonna work. It's just never gonna work.
Uh, oh, that's good. That's good. Um, yeah, I mean that's you know me. I like talking about layouts. That's kind of my thing. I really enjoy what the whole layout debate about pin up, pin down, and shiny balls versus
Oh, that's
dull
like
bowling
your
balls.
that's your pet peeve.
Oh God, the
That's
whole
definitely your pet peeve.
pin up goes longer than pin down argument. I will literally fight that until the day
Yeah.
I die.
What
Uh,
gets me is some people that take the counterpoint to that still understand that pin up flares more and pin down flares less. That's the
correct,
fun part about it.
correct. Yeah, if a bowling ball is flaring more, it's creating more friction. More friction's created. The bowling ball can't go longer if it's creating more friction. It's just literally it's that simple.
That simple.
But pin up bowling balls do the hooky thing a little bit more down lane.
The hooky thing.
So they do the hooky thing down lane a little bit more. So people see that change of direction and they think, oh, the ball went longer and it changed direction, so it has to have more back end. But in reality, if you made the
A
lane,
faster change.
yeah, exactly. If you made the lane 100 feet, the pin down bowling ball is going to continue to hook where the pin down one will eventually straighten out. So
That's exactly. And I remember when we used to have this argument way back in the day. We've
yeah.
been friends for a long time, 12
Um,
years.
no, I know you. I've known you since 12, coming up
Yeah,
on like 13, 14 years.
yeah.
So an obscene
So
amount of time.
so he was always in the back of pro shops doing numbers and stuff like that, and I was always more of a shape person. So we used to argue about this a lot. Because back in the day, pin downs used to hook the entire lane for me, and he's like, "No, they flare less. They can't do that." And I'm like, "But look, this is
Yeah,
what happens." So also with the pin up, pin down thing, everyone will see them differently. That's what I'm getting at.
100%.
People are going to see that differently. They're going to see that change of direction. Like for me, pin down balls, I use them differently than he does because he sees pin down balls as slower and rounder, where I see them as cleaner and quicker
Yep.
because they're so continuous for me that I have to move my feet left and open up my angles with them, where he actually has to be more on top of the friction and play straighter with them.
I was gonna say literally, yeah. My pin down balls go straighter, but not because they hook less, they just flare less.
Yeah.
So
Our
it's
bowling balls are
it
doing the same thing. It's just when you add in rev rate, tilt, ball roll, etc., you
left side
get
of the lane.
that changes things sometimes.
A little bit, a little bit. I've actually been experimenting a lot with 2-inch pinballs. I like those a lot recently. I didn't do them for a long time, and then I'm actually using more of them now because um, so basically what I'm talking about is a 2-inch pin to PAP. So the pin is closer to my PAP. So the bowling ball is overall more stable. It's going to roll just a lot more evenly. And then at that point, I can use the cover stock of the bowling ball surface or my hand more to manipulate what the bowling ball is going to do rather than having this big dynamic core kind of taking over and doing everything. What are we doing?
I messed something up. You're good.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's a test drive. So, yeah. So for me, 2-inch pin bowling balls or 2-inch pin layouts on certain bowling balls allow me to kind of make my moves a little bit more. I don't typically like to make a zone change like you would if you 4-pin. Like if you 4-pin, what do you move typically?
I mean, you're talking depending on length of pattern, obviously, but most of the time it's at least a 5 and 3,
For
at
me to
least.
go 5 and 3, I would have had to have gone Runaway Brooklyn. Literally, that's how different it is. For me, a 1 and 1 is the difference between me probably leaving a 6-pin or going a little high and hitting the pocket. Where for him, if he 1 and 1s, he might as well not even moved at all,
And one
because
and one and 5 and 3 is feet and
yeah,
arrows, feet and target.
yes, the first number is how many you move with your feet. The second number is how many you would move with your eyes. So for him, 5 and 3, you guys think about that. That's moving an entire arrow. I mean, literally, if I move an entire arrow, I might as like that's the
He's
lane's
seeing a
going to be
different.
stripped.
He's seeing a different game.
Yeah, 100%. And that's not because I don't like to hook it. I don't like it's just the lane on my side of the lane typically doesn't change that drastically ever. And there's a lot less play on my side of the lane in any tournament or any league situation and in any bowling center across America because there's just less left-handed people. So my side of the lane is significantly less worn out than his. So I'm seeing a truer, cleaner lane surface every time I put my shoes on. Where you're bowling on a literal like a slope. It seems like you're just a
Yeah,
dish basically.
it's almost a funnel really, because
Yeah,
you get outside of 5 is you're here. Let's see if I can
there you
here,
go. Yeah,
and then you have your 6 to 12,
where
and then
everyone
it does
plays.
this exactly because it's wood. No matter synthetic, it's still it, friction deteriorates surfaces. That's just what
Absolutely.
happens.
Yep.
That's just
Oh
what
yeah.
happens.
And if you bowl in a center that doesn't put a lot of oil out, that can happen a lot quicker. Um, if you have people that use a lot of surface, your lane during league tournament, whatever, is going to change faster than if they had a shiny bowling ball. It's different every time we put our shoes on, and that's why I love the sport so much. But I also hate it
It's
because
unlimited amount of variables.
you could have the absolute berries for a week straight, a month straight, be on the high of highs. You see something you haven't seen before, and all of a sudden you feel like you can't bowl anymore. Doesn't matter how good
Uh,
you are.
I mean, I had that 2 years ago. I think Chesapeake. Yeah, Chesapeake. I was absolute hot streak. I
I
won
remember that.
two or three tournaments in a row in Florida, having a great regional season. Head to the national stop. It wasn't a national stop that year, but it was like ish national stop.
It
And
was basically the
Chesapeake.
good guys.
Yeah, it was Chesapeake, and we bowled on bare, dead flat. That surface, it's an AMF center. They don't oil the first 18 inches. I went 250 under. I had absolutely dead air, and I was just coming off some of the best bowling I've done my entire life. And that's
Yeah,
just how it works. Like it goes from it's day by day, session by session, shot by shot. Like
yeah.
there's no rhyme or
And,
reason sometimes.
and yeah, and everyone's definition of poor performances is different. I mean, everyone wanted to say that Belmo was having an off year. Now,
Oh my
because of
god, yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, kinda like he made every show. He didn't win because everyone's used to seeing him winning,
I mean,
and
if we're gonna be technical bowlers here, which you and me are very technical, very
yeah.
precise people, so might as well like the eye test. He looked like he was throwing it worse than he had last year. Last year he looked
Oh,
absolutely unstoppable, unbelievable,
when was the last time
perfect.
you saw him miss the head to the left and
Yeah,
right in the same game?
in the same game. Yeah. So I mean, he makes. I mean, he won what 2 majors this year, right?
Oh, yeah,
And he made
something
every
ridiculous.
major show. He made every major show.
Yeah.
He won two. He won the U.S. Open and the World Championships. World Championships
Yep.
3 years in a row. 3 years in a row. I mean, that's ridiculous.
And to get to the World Championships, you have to have done very well in the World Series.
Yeah. So and he did look objectively worse than he did the last few years, but he was
Yep.
still making those shows because when he wasn't throwing it physically as good as he has been, but that just shows you how well he can adjust and manipulate the lanes, manipulate balls. And,
How good he is mentally. I think that's really more than it. Having everything he had going on back home with Australia and the fires
yeah.
and all that, and then trying to shut that off and try to focus on hitting a target, going pair to pair, managing your bowling balls, all that, whatever. I mean, everyone wants to knock on him, whatever, but like he didn't win. Yeah, but you try making a TV show against the best in the world when your country's on fire.
Like, it's such a mental game. It's such a mental game, way more than
Yeah.
physical. And I think now our generation now is seeing that more than anything. I mean, there's so many different styles. I mean, there's
Yeah.
an unlimited amount of styles. But the people that can just focus and make their spares and not get frustrated always end up more on the top.
Yeah.
Always.
I mean, you and I've had this conversation. I mean, I practice probably more than I should on things that,
Yeah,
are
this is we are the two opposite ends of the spectrum. I
yes,
take
we've always
breaks
has
to
been.
get better, and he practices to get better. Like if
Yeah.
I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm feeling like my timing's not right, I'll take a week. I'll take 2 weeks off, and when literally the next 3 shots I throw, I'll send him a video, and he's like, "I hate you. Like
Yeah.
how are you throwing it that good after not bowling 2 weeks?" And it's just I when I stop bowling, I just forget bad habits.
Yeah.
And for him, he's the exact opposite. It's when he stops bowling, he forgets good habits,
Yeah.
and it's just interesting that I think those are really the two types of bowlers there are out there. I mean, there's plenty of guys that are practiceaholics,
Mhm.
workaholics, and
And
plenty
they're
of
good
guys that
players.
don't. I Wes Millett doesn't practice.
I don't think EJ practices. I can't
He
speak for
doesn't.
him, but I don't think EJ
Yeah,
practices.
but then there's Sterner, guys like that, absolute workaholics, man.
Yeah.
Just on the
There's
lanes every day.
there's two ways to get it done, but
Yep.
both of those players have to have both of those players at the elite level have to be able to put aside the physical game and be like, all right, well, this is how I'm throwing it today. This is what the lane's giving me. I need to knock down 10 pins. That's what I have to do. And I
And
think in
right
the
there's
last,
Queso giving himself advice he doesn't take. Everybody.
I was just gonna say, I think I've in the last probably 6 or so months, I've really, really tried to hammer that into my head of you throw it good enough, you throw it, 8 out of 10 on a shot. If it doesn't strike, move, change, do something. You're not gonna throw it that bad that many times in a row unless you're in the wrong part of the lane with the wrong ball doing something wrong that lets your eye see something that you don't want to see. It doesn't matter who you are. If you have area and you see area, you're going to throw it better.
Plain and simple. Plain and
Yes.
simple.
Now, when you don't have area, it's trusting that ability that, like you said, make your spares, get close, don't get six, make what you leave. And then when you start doing that, you start seeing you're bowling 2-0, 210, and everyone else is bowling 180, then that can also loosen you up a little bit. You're like, all right, I'm doing something right here. And that helps you, like this year at the US Open, day 3.
I was literally just about to say that. I was waiting for you to finish for me to say that.
Yeah, Chris Prather led 2 days, went 200 something under day 3, I think.
Yep.
Something. And then Norm Duke's the best shot maker in all of PBA history. He went 110 over, which that's pretty much what he does every block he bowls. It just that was the block that it looked like 500 over.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. I mean, I think he had front 9 or front 10 twice that block.
Yeah, it's something.
It was
ridiculous.
something like that. Yeah, it was something like that. It was unbelievable.
Just
It was unbelievable.
just touch, kind of like up 8 and just not
just
touch
letting
the
it
holes.
stop right in front of the pocket and just hoping they fall down. Like, and that's what when they're that hard, and they were. I mean, people were saying, and people, saying, "Oh, the U.S. Open should be hard. The U.S. Open should be hard. The U.S. Open should be hard." The first 2 days, the patterns were easier than normal, but the third day brought the pace down. I think the pace was only 5 or 6 pins overall higher than the
It ended up
previous
being
2
really
years.
close.
It ended up being really close. Like, so I just don't see. I just don't see how, and just that tournament in general is so hard because
Yeah,
you're bowling on 3 separate patterns,
4.
and you could four separate patterns. Yeah, if you make the cashers round, 4 separate
Yeah.
patterns. You could say what you want about that. There's obviously some differing opinions on if bowling the whole cashers round is on one pattern is fair. I'd personally like to see it on three. You have 3 patterns. You have three match play rounds. I'm fine with that. Have the cashers round on that 4th pattern. Have the 3 patterns that you used all week for the match play. That kind of makes it a little more fair, a little more kind of runs everybody through what they were doing all week.
And that's the thing, running everyone through it, because I mean, obviously there was guys that matched up on something, and other guys that had no chance. And
Correct.
if you make the cashers round, which you bowled well enough to get there, but you get put on the pattern you're the worst at, I mean, you're the best in the world. You probably might figure something out. But if you're bowling a guy who just has a look and has confidence in his swing and is making good shots at the best in the world level, it's really hard to beat that unless you figure something out.
That's the
On
thing.
top of
Everyone is the best in the world at their A game. Everyone.
100%. Yeah, and when you throw only having 10 bowling balls into the mix and having to figure all that out,
Especially
like,
nowadays. Absolutely.
yeah, nowadays not getting practice on the pairs to start, like that tournament. Say what you want about scores, I think it's gotten harder by adding those implements of only having 10 balls,
Completely
4
agree.
patterns. Like
just alone, not practicing on your starting pair is the hardest possible thing. I bowled it in 2018, and that was the biggest shock to me. You're practicing on the pair, you get a little comfortable, and then you go to this pair, and we're so trained to practice. We practice on our starting pair, so we go to the starting pair, and it's just lights on, throw shots, and topography. Topography alone means I have no idea what I'm about to do.
did you get
Topography
one
alone.
shot? Was it one shot on the pair on each?
2018, I don't think we got any.
Cool.
Yeah, we didn't get any in 2018 because I think that was the first year they did that.
Okay, I thought it was like one shot per lane or something.
I think
like
it was
that.
2019 they did that, and then 2020 they did 2 shots per lane.
Okay, all right.
I might be wrong. I don't have a Joe Rogan Jamie here to fact check me, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that we didn't have any practice at all. No, we did not. I can promise you that because the 37-foot pattern day, I threw it directly at the head pin for the first 5 shots, just to try to understand the pattern. And this is actually a pretty good conversation about lane breakdown because everyone always complains about lane breakdown. It's it's always people surface too much or people do this. So we're gonna not practice on our starting pair so we don't break down the lane. That's the logic being used. And as a bowler, I'm gonna oversurface my ball and play close to the head pin. I'm gonna make them impossible. That's the only way I'm gonna have a chance on that starting pair.
I was going to say, what you see is, if a bowler's coming to their pair and they don't know what they're going to get, they're going to try to hit the head pin. So a lot of the times what you saw were the righties making, you can only assume an arrow or so left in and just try to shut the head pin down for the first couple of shots just to figure it out,
Exactly.
Because that's, if the guys on tour never like to see their bowling ball miss the head pin, ever. At least that's from what I've gathered watching. They don't want to see their ball hit.
If I hit the pocket, I have a chance to strike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if they've missed the head pin, they don't try to hit it harder, throw it slower. No, they just move that way. and they just move closer to the headband. That's it. And they're again the best in the world. They'll figure it out. So when
Exactly.
you move further left to start, and you have a 6-game block, and then the squad after you sees how left you got, they're gonna out left you guys, and it's just a big jumping match, a big chess match of who can get left faster. And that's why when it gets to that point, that's why you see Belmo and guys that are very good at creating axis rotation and throwing it over the gutter cap or have really good touch excel in those patterns. But that's why you see a lot of the same people. Everyone complains you see the same people because they are the best at doing that because that's how it gets every single week, no matter what you bowl on.
It is loft in the, if we're bowling an 8-game block, I'm lost in the cap at some point. I don't care what unless I'm bowling on cheetah. So I'm bowling
Literally.
on 37 feet and under. I'm lost in the cap by game 7. Is by game 5 in the south, but by at least 6 and 7. Kegel machines, reverse oil. That's a whole nother conversation. I feel like we've had like 7 conversations, and I knew this was gonna happen. See, he was trying to plan this out, and I was like, I'll just wing it. We've had conversations like this for 13 years. I was like, we're just gonna have a crazy conversation that's gonna touch on a million different things.
Yeah, it's gonna be organic. That's what you guys are gonna get here. This is
Yeah.
real life bowling. This is literally our conversations now have been broken down to we'll message each other. We won't even say words. We'll send a picture of a ball with lines on it or a video of us bowling, and then we both automatically know exactly what we're talking about. And be like, oh, your feet were good there. Your swing was good. I don't like that layout. Change it to this. How's this look? Blah, 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 whatever. We've just us. I mean, even and Kevin Fisher, he's in it too. Like he literally, we don't even talk to each other with words. We just send pictures and videos and we just respond that way.
Yeah, just because this game, there's just the nuance, man. And when you're talking about trying to compete on the highest level, it's all about the nuance.
Mm-hmm.
That's why drilling balls are so important. Like a lot of people don't understand why we drill so many balls. Because if I got a ball in my hand that's gonna give me 217 if I'm perfect, or if I got a ball in my hand that's gonna give me 237 if I'm perfect, is the world, and that's the nuances that we're talking about. It's the layouts, all that kind of stuff.
Being with Bowler Smart has helped that a lot. If I wasn't in a pro shop, I don't think I would be.
Oh my god, I would already be done because I couldn't have changed. I've changed my fit.
Not as much as me. Don't even say as much as me.
Oh man, I don't know. In a 4-month period, I went through a lot of changes.
To be fair, you had a problem picking. Yeah, you had a problem literally making a fist at one point.
Yes.
That's how bad his hand got.
And that just comes from because I try to explain this to the children. Kevin, the kids in college. I try to explain to them like, you guys are not going to hurt right now. I was in a terrible fit. I didn't realize it was a terrible fit until I learned how to be in a pro shop. And, I've been doing this for a really long time at this point. And now I'm like, oh, that was terrible when I was 15. That was horrible when I was 16. What was I doing? But you don't hurt because you're young. And then right around 25, that's when it started really getting bad.
Bingo.
About 25. And then when you do something, God, I mean, we were bowling. I used to bowl. I don't know. 50 hours a week. I don't know. It was some ridiculous number. Yeah, it was a ridiculous number. So like
no warm up, no stretching, no drills, nothing.
Yeah. Now I got to stretch before I bowl, all that kind of stuff. You have to do those things. It's so important.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to having a good pro shop operator. There's pro shop operators that do a pretty good job, but then there's guys that take that extra time because they know in a year your hand's going to change, and they're going to be the ones that they're going to be the ones to remind you. Because when we're 15, 16 years old, averaging 220, 230 in league as a youth bowler, running over youth tournaments, we don't think our hand is bad ever. We think we're bowling good, and then all of a sudden it's a quarter inch too short, and my wrist starts to hurt a little bit, but it's not a big deal. But if I keep going along that route, I'm going to end up doing some serious damage.
That's exactly right.
Especially for how high the rev rates are now.
That's the thing that people don't get. I don't think. Oh well, Norm's bowled for his whole life. Pete's bowled his whole life. Pete's hand's fine. Walter's hand's pretty fine. He has some arthritis, but he's pretty fine.
He's 60. So I mean, he's
But we're talking about people that have never had over 400. Pete was over 400.
At one point, look at Mark Roth, the guy that tried to get over 400. His fit was awful, and he literally there's pictures of his thumb. It looked like a mashed potato.
Yeah. So the fit is so important. And I don't know. What do you think on this? Like every 2 years, you should get your fit checked.
I have year 6-8 months, dude. Well,
really?
It depends on it depends on what age you're talking about here. If we're talking about under 21, I say every 6 months.
Okay. I
Our
could definitely see that.
with us, we're bowling all the time, so we know it. But like, I mean, if you're like, I'm 25 now, I'll be 26. I mean, if I'm bowling a lot and I'm bowling tournaments, but let's say I'm not in a pro shop, I would probably go in. I would recommend once a year. I think 2 years is way too often. It's
Yeah.
probably even less than that if you look at like the industry standard, what the industry says. But I mean, when you're a good enough player, you can recognize when something's wrong. But sometimes it might be, man, I'm catching this fingernail a little bit, starting to get a little blood blister. It doesn't hurt, but it might later. Or, oh, I have this little click in my wrist that could turn into something that we don't think of, you know?
That's where mine started. Mine
Yeah, it was a click.
started with a clicking wrist, just like this, and it would
Yeah,
just start clicking, and
yeah,
it chiropractor after chiropractor, and it's finally better now, but
yeah,
a
and
lot of
that's the
time.
difference. I have 375, 400 if I absolutely try. I don't have, thankfully, any problems. I change my fit for more comfortability reasons for the most part. He changes fit for pain relief and comfortability reasons. So that's, I mean, your hand gets, the guys that have the rev rate that as high as you guys do, your hand gets to a spot where I just can't get my hand to.
It when look at videos, and I mean, it's really insane when you want, like, EJ's hand is stupid. Mitch Hoope's hand is
Let's talk about
absolutely
that.
unbelievable.
And he gets it off at the foul line by getting his hand to completely go underneath it and then let go of it in
Yep.
that quick of a segment is unreal.
When you're talking about that much energy transferring through your body in a spot that is really not that strong, the wrist is really not that strong,
And then to
and you're
miss,
doing it
like,
not
it's
that strong,
yeah,
like,
like
and you're doing it a thousand times again, a thousand times again. It wears on you.
yeah. There was that sports science
Fit
segment
is
with
so
Sean
important.
Rash. They did
Hmm.
that whole breakdown. The 95% of the way the bowling ball was on his ring finger upon release. And there's a guy that had catastrophic wrist injury, had to get
Yeah,
completely refit. Took him a year or so to kind of it took him almost I mean, at that level, he's an elite level player, one of the
yeah.
best ever. Took him, I mean, arguably, I mean, if you look at it, about a year to get his hand feeling comfortable again, not being afraid to, I don't want to speak for him, but I mean, if you look at his performances, it took him a while to get back to where
Yep.
he was used to being. And then he had to play the game totally differently because he couldn't get his hand into that spot that he did before as easily. He
Yeah, he
probably
went
still
from the
could.
big hook guy. He went from the big hook guy to a straight guy, and now he's, man, I don't know, the best straight guy on tour. I
Because
mean,
he's
it's
straight with enough
unbelievable.
power to strike.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how good he's gotten, and just, I mean, he's having, what, 3 years of just absolute dominance lately.
Yeah, and we can kind of go back to that. That's kind of the whole. I kind of wanted to touch on this a little bit because there's, you and I have had this conversation about, why'd you change companies? You're having so much success and all that, blah blah blah.
Mm.
If you look at Sean Rash, he was with Brunswick for 17, 18 years, and say what you want about the year he had before, but I mean, he won a doubles title. He was bowling well. He did well overseas, whatever. And then everything happened with EBI Brunswick, whatever, and he changed, and he had immediate success again,
Immediate,
and immediate success.
immediate.
And at that level, bowling balls don't matter I think as far as success goes. It's all a matter of what the player wants to see.
Yep,
Those guys
that's it.
can do whatever they want. They're the best in the world. They can strike with any bowling ball you put in their hands. It's a matter of what the player wants to strike with. That's the only difference, I think.
And that goes exactly to what we're going to talk about. We're going to try to do another video after this
Spoiler,
where we're talking about
spoiler alert.
talking about motive and stuff like that, because now we're both on staff at motive. That's kind of why we want to do this, so we have
Yeah,
interesting perspectives about your motive and just bowling in general. But I noticed it. I wanted to see something that I wasn't seeing with storm balls. I was seeing too much down lane hook. I was seeing too much angle. I was seeing the balls were too fast for me, and I adapted to that. And I had a pretty good year last year. Nothing crazy. I mean, it was pretty good. Had a step ladder in a regional, cash in national stop, 300 national stop, like decent, nothing
yeah,
crazy. And then I changed to see what I wanted to see, and in the heat of the moment, I was still seeing storm balls, storm motion,
yep.
storm adjustments, and I just bowled terrible. I just bowled absolutely terrible. And that goes to it takes us a second to recalibrate our eyes and our adjustments and everything. And
Mhm.
then right in the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, end of February, I had some decent in February, but March I bowled pretty good again. And I was seeing the shapes I had. I was seeing the right thing from the shapes that I had in my bag. I was finally learning the balls, or what ball do I grab from here? What ball do I grab from there? Oh, this layout used to work with these, now it doesn't work with those. And
Mhm.
it's a process. So like when people, a lot of people like to say like when you switch companies, oh, but it's not the bowling balls themselves. It's more of everything else that goes with them. You have to
Correct.
learn the shapes and everything that just goes along with that. I
Yeah.
think, at
Oh, I
least for
agree.
me, that was the case for me.
Yeah, and at our level, we're regional level players. So if you go to that national level, you have that added ability to drill 60 balls, have your tour rep behind you every shot,
They'll definitely
confirming or
cut that time down.
exactly. That's why you see when those guys change, most of the time they have pretty quick success. Look at AJ
Yeah.
Johnson. AJ Johnson changed, has tour reps behind him, likes what he's seeing, but
Yep.
also has that ability to be like,
Dude's bowled 300 like every event this year.
exactly.
It's
It's
just
really
silly.
easy when you have a guy behind you that knows the product better than you do at that point, being like, oh no, that was fine, change to this, you'll be fine. And then you see it, you get confidence in it, and then you're good enough to be like, okay, that's a change for here. Whether we're us, we're bowling on the weekends, we're bowling on different stuff all the time. We're not out there every single day bowling for a living. So it takes us a while to build up that database for what we like to see. You
Data,
know,
data,
it,
data,
it's all
data.
it's
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. So and we could easily get tricked. You could bowl in a center where the fronts hook more, and you could see bowling balls, that are slower or faster. Then you go to a center that is tighter up front, and then they're complete opposite or whatever it may be. Or on tour, yes, they're bowling in different environments, but they're bowling on the same lane machine with the same oil, just on a different pattern.
Against the same people.
Correct.
That's the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize. Oh, well, tour's the same all the time. It's not. Yeah, tour's the same, but it's because they're only bowling against the same people. When
Mm,
I bowl tournaments, I have less success when I bowl in North Carolina, and that's because there's a completely different crop of people bowling those regionals up there. And I
mm.
have enough data that supports this, and that's funny. But like, I bowl worse in
I
North
know the stop you're
Carolina.
talking about.
Yeah, I bowl worse in North Carolina. I don't think I've ever. I think I've cashed in North Carolina one time in my whole life.
You finished second to me in North Carolina.
Oh, that's right. That's the only. And then how good I bowled terrible there this year or last year, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Terrible. Like it's random like that. Also, we bowled on the house shot, and then this year they were impossible.
I still made the cut, barely by like 2 sticks, but
But
yeah,
yeah, no, so it really goes by who you're bowling against. I don't think. All right, I guess what I'm trying to say here is topographies a lot, oil patterns a lot, but who you're bowling against is way more than anyone really realizes.
hmm there's tournaments I've bowled where, I mean, I'm left-handed. I'm in the minority as it is, but there's tournaments I've bowled where there's not a single left-hander, and there's tournaments where I've bowled where there's 15 left-handers. And for me, 15 is a lot. So going from 1 or 2 to 15, one tournament to another, doesn't matter what we're bowling on. It's going to change differently regardless.
So
And
that's a super good perspective that obviously since you're left-handed, no one talks about. It's like no
you
one
know,
realizes that. We're always blaming ourselves because we're right-handed, so we're always blaming ourselves for what you guys see. But it might be you're following a lefty that's throwing urethane, and every other tournament you've bowled this year, you haven't. So this is the first time that you've seen urethane carry down all year.
yeah. Or let's say there's 3 lefties on a pair, which is a lot, but I don't hit that till game 2. So I'm bowling on what I've broken down, what no one's broken down, and then what they've broken down. Where if you're right-handed, every lane you go to has been used. Where if you're left-handed, there's a good perspective of the time where I'm bowling on fresh every time.
Mm. Yeah, and then so you're bowling completely different every time, and it's completely different for everybody every time. But
Oh
at
yeah,
least
agreed.
as right-handed, I kind of can always get left and throw it right, and it's
Yeah,
gonna work
yeah.
most of the
And
time.
and what I'm finding is the more I'm bowling, and even if I'm going to fresh, if I'm not paying attention to what the right-handers are doing, depending on what we're bowling on, I even if it's fresh, I can't just go back to where I started with the ball I started with. Like you said, topography makes a whole lot of difference. And then if there's just a little bit of traffic in the front part of the lane, for me, especially because my bowling ball hooks the second I let go of it, it feels like that automatically changes my plan of attack as well. So it's not even that I just have to follow the righties or lefties. I have to make sure that the righties aren't starting in at fourth or fifth arrow, depending as well, because that's going to change what I do. It might be a nanosecond, but it's a difference, and it's a variable that gets thrown into there that people don't really take account for.
And when you're talking about pins, when you're talking about the difference of, I don't know what
A
the
hit a game.
difference of, yeah, most of the time it's a hit a game. A hit a game is from leading to making match play, and then another hit a game is from making match play to the cut, and then another hit a game is making the cut to no
Yeah.
cash.
You
Like,
take that Yeah, you take that hole, make it a spare. That's you getting a check. You take that spare, make it a strike. That's you make a match play. And if you take that strike, make it into a double. I mean, if you're at the best in the world, a
And
double for the best in the world is the
that's
TV
exactly
show
what it is. And I mean, no matter what those guys are bowling on, it's 235. You're at the
every time,
top.
every
225
single
to
time.
230. You're in the match play. 225 and under, fighting for checks. Obviously,
Mhm.
that's a variable. Sometimes it varies, but most of the time, if you average 230, you're having a good day.
Yeah,
Very
and
very rarely.
yeah, and that's the other thing. People don't really seem to understand that part of it is that 230 when the people that back home, let's say they average 240 on their house shot or 230 on a house shot, they don't understand that 230 among those many games across that many pairs bowling against those guys every shot is not the same as when they bowl on TV and they bowl one game. That is not
That
the same thing.
one game of bowling in a one game match is simply about who can out execute and outread the next person. The lane is irrelevant.
Hmm.
One game matches, the lane is irrelevant. There's no manipulating that. It is execution and it is mental fortitude. that
Yeah.
is, that is a one game. And the step ladders are so hard.
Hmm.
Step ladders are so hard.
It's one hit a game. One hit a game goes your way. It's the difference between making it to the next match and not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh,
So, this is
this
pretty
podcast.
good.
This is
This
a
is like
really quick 45 minutes.
2 podcasts, man. They go quick.
Yeah.
They
This
go
is I
quick.
like this. We calling this the
I,
one we call this number one.
Yeah, yeah, this is number one. I feel like we talked about a bunch of different things. So that's kind of how our conversations work. We just talk about a bunch of
Every
different
time.
things, and it gets crazy. So I feel like if there's any specific things that anyone wants us to talk about, drop a comment. Right? Drop a comment.
Yes, do the YouTube thing. Like, comment, subscribe,
Yep.
share. That
We'll answer questions.
yeah,
Obviously, we have no
some
subscribers
time.
yet, so and we also have some time. We have a lot of time, so we'll answer
Yes.
questions. We'll do all that kind of stuff. We really just want to give you just real, you know,
Life bowling.
real life bowling content. Like I love what Brad and Kyle did. Like I loved it.
Yes.
We talked about it. We were talking about it, when they were first starting,
Hmm.
and I'm
They
I'm a
opened the door.
little yeah. They opened the door. They made it realize like oh there's like people want to see this because as
Hmm.
bowlers, especially as a bowler of my generation, man, I'm 30. When I turned adult,
Old.
right. Bowling was like dead. No one gave a shit about bowling. Like no one cared. So it took me a long time to realize that people really wanted content like this. But I love talking about bowling. He loves talking about bowling. We have a couple more friends that we want to get involved to just have real conversations of all levels. Our buddies just starting out, bowling the regionals, stuff like that. So that's a good perspective.
Hmm.
We got the pro shop perspective. We got the regional perspective. I bowled some national stops. Case was bowled some national stops. He's actually made a national stop ladder. So we have some different perspectives um, that we just want to share. So
Yeah.
any kind of questions, just drop them and we'll get
Yeah.
to them for sure.
Yeah. Literally, we both have access to the channel, so it can be as simple as you know. It could be the simplest and most technical question. We'll figure out a way to answer it
Yep.
for you, and um, we're just gonna try to help grow the channel and just grow bowling, especially in this kind of weird time. We want to just grow the
Weird
sport.
time.
It's a weird time. I'm gonna
Just
call it a
good
weird time.
exposure. We just want good exposure for bowling because I remember in '08 with the crisis that the financial crisis that bowling took a really big hit. So
Hmm.
bowling's not recession proof. So this is gonna hurt a little bit. So we just definitely want to do the best we can
Especially with
and
Bolero putting everything into it like it's been. We don't want
yeah,
to see
bowling was
fall off.
finally, man. Bowling was finally getting there, man. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. But we have some good platforms. We both work for Bowler Smart. We're both on Cool Wick staff, both on Motive staff. The guys that run those are such big supports for us, so we want to help support them
100%.
back. Yeah, man. Those guys, Cliff, Andrew, Jimmy, all
You
those
want to flash the
guys.
website up again real quick
Brent.
so everyone can check it
Yeah,
out?
sure.
Yeah. So like I said, guys, just check this out. I mean, like I said, anything right now,
Motive,
local business wise,
Cool
you know,
Wick,
Cool
Bowler
Wick.
Smart.
There's quick to ship stuff. We're still shipping stuff for the website. As far as I know, right now, we haven't got the
This is
haven't
Queso's
got the
logo,
order.
everybody.
Yeah. Chip queso post, man. Let's go. We need to get your custom logo up there too when we decide to make one.
Whenever I can put
Yeah.
my finger on what I want, because
Correct.
I don't make decisions well.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. This was great.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to do at least one a week. I think. I think that's what we're trying to do. At least.
Yeah. At least one. It depends. We might want to we might get three guys in
We're the,
here, do something quick.
Exactly, exactly. Might have some more people. Um, maybe we'll get some actual PBA bowlers. We know a couple of them. We're some friends with a couple of them, so that might be able to happen. So,
That's I'm in for that.
anything you guys want to see, let us know. Thanks. Like and subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we're gonna make another video for you guys here in just a second. So you're gonna see us in the same outfits.